Hello and welcome back to the County Chat previews of 2025. We're moving through Division 1 at this point and we're on to the champions of Division 2 last year. It's the residents of Hove actually and the residents of sunny Sussex. It is, Sussex County Cricket Club, not much veil in that anymore. It's my home county. They've got the prize fandom of me, so this is obviously going to be the most biased of all the team reviews. So I can only do my previews even. I can only do my best to sort of hide that bias, but also just, it's the team I've probably watched the most, so I guess I can have dually maybe have a bit more to say. Who knows? Anyway, but something I also noticed was the two promoted sides last year were Yorkshire and Sussex, and the two relegated were Lancashire and Kent. I feel like obviously Yorkshire and Lancashire is a very obvious comparison, but Sussex and Kent, two sort of smaller southern counties, they kind of swapped for each other. Division 1 kind of kept a pretty similar kind of size of county and sort of route around the grounds. So yeah, that's just a funny coincidence, I guess. I just thought I'd mention it because I enjoyed that kind of idea. Anyway, the leadership group will again be led by Captain Simpson and Farbrace after being the coach and captain pair who took them to the Division 2 title. They were 20 points clear by the end of the season, a really an easy win by the end. It was a title race with Yorkshire, but they kind of came out to be a big winner of the season, obviously. There was a big turnover. The Simpson was a new captain going into 2024. Farbrace was just going into his second season. It was a spectacular year Simpson had with the bat, but obviously he's sort of leading the team. My hat is just sort of sliding off. It's from when I was about 10. Particularly with the bat, but it could be argued his sort of calming presence on the field as a leader for Sussex was as important for their turnaround in 2024. I feel like for a while Sussex didn't really have a clear, candidate and clear sort of captain. Really, there wasn't really this one person who's maybe a bit older, a bit more seasoned, a bit more sort of knew what he needed. Farbrace himself is sort of the perfect kind of combination for me. He's sort of this very happy, cheery guy, and he's all about having fun while you're playing cricket, but he really did instill a sort of winning attitude in Sussex since he joined, and I think he's been a really big part of why they've turned around as a county, and I think anyone who's sort of associated with the county would say that. And I think if anyone who knows Paul Farbrace knows he's an excellent coach and an excellent instiller of good culture within the team, which I think is as important in a dressing room as anything else. Anyway, onto the the side of the game or the phase of the game that I think is a weakness for any team we do as we go through it. So for me, it's always, again, I've said this throughout all the promoted and relegated teams. It's the last one now, but it's always difficult with relegated and promoted teams, especially, Sussex last year really did dominate Division 2 for a lot of it, and they won games quite easily. So it's always difficult. The stats can be a bit skewed, but from my perspective, going into Division 1, I think Sussex's weaker part of their game is their batting. It was a tough one to call because of the kind of consistency of being on top in games last year, and I think you have to try and look what's it going to look like going into 2025. And again, this is all sort of, as I've said in the Yorkshire preview, this is all a bit done after the round one, so you kind of know Sussex did very well in that round one with their batting, but I still think it's probably throughout the season going to be the weakness, but I guess we'll wait and see. The opening partnership has been a strength though. Tom Haynes, I think, could be argued to be Sussex over the course of Sussex not being very good and then going into being one of the better counties in Division 2, has been probably one of, if not the most consistent performer for Sussex in those last 5 years. I think in 2024 the question was never the talent of Tom Haynes. I think everyone knows he's got that talent, played for England Lions, scored hundreds for England Lions, but it's just it seemed a bit more of a concentration thing. I think a lot of the time when he was getting out, it was a bit more, he gave his wicket away. Having said that, he still had a very good year, kind of career average of in the high 30s, and it kind of followed that. But I think he has the talent that in Division 2 he could score a massive season. He'll be joined by his opening partner for the sort of end of the season, and that was Daniel Hughes. He only played for a short while, but this season he will be Sussex's main overseas, so will be here for the whole season, which I think is a real bonus for the team, because I think they were always struggling a bit for that second opener. But in his 6 innings last year, he showed his quality. He passed 53 times, including 1 century. So in his short spell, he proved his quality. He's a New South Wales opener. I mean, he's kind of a classic overseas. He just looks the part. He's a really good fielder, excellent batter. and yeah, he is a good signing, I'd say, for Sussex for a whole season in Division 1, because I think he's a proven performer, and he will, throughout a full season in the County Championship, definitely put up, I'd say, north of 800 runs. I think is probably a sort of safe bet for someone like Hughes. Tom Clark will likely be in at 3, so I'm having to keep adjusting his hat, as I say, from when I was about 10. Will be likely in at 3. He's one of those people. He's very incredibly talented. I actually wrote this before his 140 in the opening round, but yeah, I think he always struggled to do himself justice with the talent he has. You know, his performances across sort of 3 or 4 years in Division 2 weren't great, really. I mean, he had a few standout innings, but his average remained kind of consistently in the 20s, below 25 at points, which I think, you know, needless to say, for most top order batters is not very, you know, it's not good enough. Usually you don't really see people keep contracts for that long, arguably. But I think it's always been obvious he's got a talent that, you know, when you see him bat and he's batting well, it's really picturesque. It's perfect technique. It's really calm and composed. And that innings at Edgbaston this round just gone, it was really clear that he had all of those things, and he really showed that, you know, he does belong at this level. And I think in some ways, maybe, you never know, maybe the sort of challenge of Division 1 has brought out another level to his game. I think the reason I was actually a big pro on him, and it's a bit of a shame doing a preview after they've already shown themselves to have this talent, but I was quite optimistic looking into him to 2025 is because he's got a very patient approach. He's willing to chew up balls, which I think in the modern game is less and less seen for especially young players, and especially as he's talented enough to go at a good rate, but he leaves well outside off as a lefty, which is always impressive, or is important, I think. And yeah, I think he'll probably look to prove his worth in 2025. I mean, he's had an excellent start, as I say, with that 140 at Edgbaston. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of progresses through, and how a full season puts together, and whether or not he'll be able to keep other batters out of the side who might be wanting to slide into his spot. Anyway, at 4. It will be another sort of key signing for Sussex, or one of the key signings for Sussex as they turned around their form over the last 3 years. It's Tom Alsop. He's been really important figure in Sussex's turnaround, and a really, clear leader and a clear sort of culture changer in Sussex's team. But he'll actually look for a bigger year in 2025. He scored 800 runs, or 799, at an average of 44, which are all sort of healthy numbers. But he didn't actually score a century in 2024, so I'm sure he'll be looking for a slightly bigger 2025. Again, he's got a very patient approach, can bat time, and can play very important innings, and I think often maybe in innings which doesn't show up in the stats as much. Maybe it's a really well defended 20 off 100 balls when you're on a day 4 pitch that's wearing. He's sort of one of those players who often stands up and you feel like bats when it's difficult, which is always a really important skill for any side that's looking to win. On to 5. It will likely be James Coles, and I think, I've written here, to my eye, and perhaps my bias, but I do think James Coles is one of the most talented young cricketers in England. He bats in the top 5, as I say, and he offers very, very handy left-arm spin whilst being an excellent slip catcher. He's 21, and he does all these things for a Division 1 county, and I can't see it sort of slowing down for the next, 10 or so years. I think he's a player that England will be looking at closely. He went on the England Lions tour to Australia over the winter. And he's just a very talented player. He scored 700 runs last year at an average of 39, and again, I think he does have the ability to do better. I think I've said this for a lot of the batters so far. It's not even sat on my head anymore. It's literally just on the top. He'll look to have a better season than he did last year with the bat. But I think even if he repeated what he did last year, it'd be incredibly important for Sussex. And I think he has all the talent and the wherewithal. He came out for his first ball in Division 1 on a hat-trick ball on that round 1, and just looked so calm. He was waiting for Warwickshire to get a helmet on, and he was chatting away to the Warwickshire players who were surrounding him as a youngster. I think they thought they could probably get under his skin maybe, or whatever, and he creamed it down the ground, the hat-trick ball off Bamber for 4. And I think that just sort of sums up the kind of composure he has as a player and as a cricketer. And I think long may he stay at Sussex as a Sussex fan, and I think he's got real talent and real potential to be in that England setup. for years to come. Now into 6, I said John Simpson was important for the captaincy and his calming presence, but I think it's worth talking about his batting in 2024. He scored 1,200 runs, say, at an average of 75. Yeah, all whilst batting at around 6. I think he probably batted high maybe once or twice, but 6 was pretty consistently where he was batting. At the time, I think his signing, and definitely at least with me, raised some eyebrows because Ollie Carter had been probably one of the standout players for Sussex over the sort of 2 years prior, and he's a wicketkeeper batter. And John Simpson came in to be the captain and the wicketkeeper batter, and I remember being a bit like, "What? Why are they bringing this 35-year-old in?" And just, I couldn't have been more wrong, and I'm happy to admit I was so wrong because his batting just was so much better than I think anyone would have really expected. Yeah, and he'd always been a very known for being an excellent gloveman, so I think it was always just a case of how good his batting will be. And yeah, he scored 5 centuries last year in those 1,200 runs. Taking his career tally, I just enjoyed this. Before joining Sussex, he had scored 10 first-class centuries. He now has scored 15 after those 5. And I put, for the mathy amongst you, that is a 50% increase. I'd love if that was wrong somehow, but I can't see how it would be. But yeah, bearing in mind he had 211 first-class games before he had joined Sussex, and then obviously 14 after. He scored 10 in his 211 before, and then 5 in his 14 after that. I mean, yeah, not a bad signing as they go. So yeah, long may it continue. And again, he, like Tom Clark, scored 100 in that first round fixture. So it seems like that's not really going to buck the trend, and he's going to continue on his merry way because his talent and his skill and his technique. He's one of those batters. He looks like he's got a lot of time, which I think is the biggest compliment you can give anyone. And mentioning Ollie Carter, he still remains within the Sussex team. I mean, his talent, he averages high 30s with the bat. He's a really good player. I think anyone you talk to at Sussex is very high on Ollie Carter, and he's opened the batting a few times. God, this is hilarious now. He's opened the batting a few times, and he still remains within the ranks. It will just be interesting to see if he can really sneak in the team. I don't think he will, because especially with Daniel Hughes being an opener, I don't think he's going to sneak in the lineup as an opener, but yeah, he's good enough to succeed in this team. It just will be a case he probably needs someone to fall into some bad form, or maybe for him to have there be an injury for him to get into the team. But as I say, I think he's good enough to do it. Sussex have sort of a real strength, I would say, in their lower order batting. They've got 2 sort of proper bowling all-rounders, or proper all-rounders really, in Finn Hudson-Prentice and Danny Lamb. They both offer plenty with the bat, probably 400, 500 run seasons. I think Hudson-Prentice especially as an upside for sort of a really big all-rounder season at some point in his career. So yeah, it's a real strength for Sussex, and that having batters from 7 to 9 who can really offer you up to 500 runs in a season, and as I say, with someone like Hudson-Prentice and Danny Lamb, I think over a full season they could get nearer to 700 runs, 600 runs. It's really, really important. I think that's something Sussex will really lean on throughout this season. And as I say that, the sort of string to the bow of the lower order batting is Jack Carson. He's another strength in that batting lineup because he bats 8 and 9, but if you see him come up to bat, often he can do night watchman shifts and all of that kind of thing, but he is really, really good enough to get all the way to bat through an innings and bat well and bat higher up than he does. And I think he's got close to, if not 500 run seasons in the past, and he's in averages in the sort of good mid-20s, and often for someone who's batting at 9. So I think it's a real strength. Anyway, moving away from the batting and into the bowling, the reason I feel Sussex's bowling is their stronger phases of the game. I think is not only do they have a real good leader of their attack in Ollie Robinson, but they've invested in quality overseas quicks, and it's to supplement what is an already talented battery of seamers. Leading the lineup, as I say, will be Ollie Robinson. I'm a huge Ollie Robinson fan for bowling. I was if I'd been doing this show sort of 4 years ago, before he'd made his England debut, I was banging the drum of him being in the England setup. I couldn't understand why he wasn't. He got into the England setup and had a test career to this point of 76 wickets at an average of 22.9 and an economy of 2.75. For now, it seems like his international career is over, and I just, as I say, and I'm probably clear from how I'm phrasing it, I can't really understand it. I can't understand picking bowlers who have kind of not proven themselves often, and when you've got a proven wicket taker, I understand he's got this sort of, the optics of his fitness and optics of maybe being a potentially difficult personality to deal with. I can't speak to those things, but his skills, I know for a fact, are international level, and he's proven it over those, I don't know how many matches it was he took those 76 wickets in, but he proved it. I think anyone who watched Ollie Robinson bowl for England didn't think he looks out of place. But they've dropped him, and they've gone for some sort of younger, faster quicks who they think will be more effective in Australia, despite Ollie Robinson having a really good Ashes tour when he went to Australia last. What is England's lost will be Sussex's gain, though, throughout this season, because last year, in what was considered a down year, he took 39 wickets at 25. I mean, that included getting hit for 43 in an over by Louis Kimber, and sort of everyone laughing at him, and he was slightly embarrassed by that maybe, but he still had a good year. I mean, he still averaged 25, which would be lower than all the bowlers who are being picked for England at the moment. I'll sort of drop the Ollie Robinson should be playing for England chat now, but you can understand where I come from in the sense of he has got the real talent to be up there. As I mentioned, and he'll be the leader of this bowling lineup throughout the season. As I mentioned, Danny Lamb and Hudson Prentice is sort of this bowling all-rounder duo. They both will probably look for sort of better years. Last year they both averaged nearing 40 with the ball, and I think they'll probably look to drop that average, take some more wickets, maybe be a bit more controlled. Whether or not they'll look to maybe have the keeper stand up to the stumps a little more than they did last year, and maybe trying to hold up an end and get wickets that way, rather than being kind of classical seam bowlers trying to snick off to the slips and whatever. But both skillful enough to kind of take more wickets than they maybe did last year. Young bowlers in Sean Hunt and Henry Crocombe will both be valuable to slot in when maybe those overseas quicks, as I mentioned, will be won't be around or miss out or unavailable. Both showed real signs of their quality in 2024. Both taking a wicket. Hunt took his wickets at an average of 25 and Crocombe an average of 23. They both didn't get many wickets and didn't get lots of opportunity, but were very important for Sussex. They kind of felt like they had a really good rotation of fast bowlers who came in, and no one really got injured, and they kept a good sort of kept a good rotation. I guess rotation is the word, isn't it? Is it kind of consistently keeping people fresh, and the bowlers looked good and fast and skillful. So they'll probably be both good enough to warrant more overs in 2025 and more selection in 2025. Neither played in that first fixture, so it'll be interesting to see sort of as and when they slide in. Sean Hunt, of course, giving that left arm option, which is always a handy thing to have. Another young bowler with a bit of bowling talent is batter Tom Clark. I think, I never really thought about his bowling that much, but he's a very tall man, and he bowls very, very handy medium pace, or medium fast. He took 9 wickets at an average of 20 last year, with not many overs. So I think having seen from round one, but I think just in general they'll probably look at that and think, well, why don't we just try him out a little bit more, bowl him a little bit more, bowl someone like Tom Haynes maybe a little less, because he's got real talent with the ball, Tom Clark. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares in 2025. With this, as I said, going back to the overseas point, I mean, it's kind of a one in, one out policy with Sussex's fast bowlers for 2025. So their first in is Jayden Seales. He played in that first game. Seales is a world-class quick bowler. He's one of West Indies' opening bowlers. He's really, really good, very talented, swings it both ways, it bowls hard into the pitch, and he can sometimes be erratic and expensive, but when Seales is on and in rhythm, I mean, it is spellbinding stuff, and it's really, really beautiful to watch because he is a really talented bowler. I think his performance against Bangladesh over this winter, for anyone who may have missed it, he just was in one of those spells. He finished with figures of 15.5 overs, 10 maidens, 5 runs for 4 wickets. So, he just has this kind of knack of when he gets in a flow of things, it's beautiful to watch. But he'll only be for the start of the season, but following him will be Nathan McAndrew and Gurinder Sandhu. They come at the same time. McAndrew, this is his third stint with the county. He's a proven performer for Sussex, and he's another talented batter as well, but he's got a real ability to sort of kind of classic Aussie fast bowler, 6'3", 6'4" maybe, swings it both ways and bowls at a decent pace. He had a really big role in South Australia, winning the Sheffield Shield after a 19-year drought, and he was a kind of key contributor in that bowling lineup. So Sussex will look for kind of similar performances from him. And Sandhu is an experienced and skillful bowler. He's got a lot of first-class wickets over in Australia. He's one of a few people to have played for 3 first-class Australian teams, which I enjoyed. He's taller than McAndrew, and he's a sort of 6'5", 6'6", proper big fast bowler. So Sussex will hope he can kind of extract a bit of extra bounce. And as I've said about Ben Sears and there's some other quicks who kind of are joining teams that may be able to catch Division 1 lineups off guard, because it's kind of a less seen thing in English domestic cricket. Lastly, the last sort of seamer that will turn up for Sussex in the overseas slot is Jadav Unadkat. He had a stellar spell in 2024. I think he played 3 matches and took 22 wickets at an average of 14. And that is not, I mean, it's obviously a particularly good spell, but at a club, but he's a proven red ball performer, Unadkat. He's taken 447 wickets at an average of 23. And if you think the majority of that first class bowling is in India on not particularly seam bowler friendly pitches, he's a brilliant overseas signing, I think, for anyone. And again, is a left armour, which I think is always a big bonus for any team, just to keep that kind of variation maybe between your quick bowlers. So I think, the combination of this overseas talent is impressive for Sussex. I think it could be obviously seen as a bit risky, with plenty of reliance on overseas talent, but I think if it's managed well and there's no sort of hiccups with anyone's travel or any injuries or anything like that, it'll be a really brilliant strategy, I think, which will work in Sussex's favour. Again, maybe I'm just seeing it with a sort of like slightly one-eyed perspective, but who knows. Sussex have a premier spinner, in my opinion, in Jack Carson. He took 50 wickets, which was a club leading in 2024. It was also the best by a spinner in Division 2 by 21 wickets, which I didn't, it's not really a classical stat, but I thought it was interesting to maybe show the pitches that he was playing on, that he was, steps above the bowlers he was against, or compared to maybe in Division 2 when it comes to spinners. The 50 wickets were an average of 22, and I think he was integral in sort of taking close games and ensuring they were wins rather than draws in 2024, was maybe a way I looked at it. He really was a sort of a difference maker, and again, as I said, with his lower order batting, but his spin bowling, they could give him sort of unchanged from an end often on a fourth day pitch and at Hove or around the grounds, and he very rarely failed to deliver, really. Long may it continue, and I think he'll look for another big season in 2025 and look to prove himself in Division 1, which I guess all of these younger players will be looking to do. Bertie Foreman will look to be able to sneak into the lineup as a sort of spin bowling all-rounder. He had a very good year in the One Day Cup last year, and he's not got much chance. He's not got any chance to sort of get into the first class team. I think he'll probably have to wait for, if there is an injury to someone like Carson, to get into the team, or maybe a surface which requires sort of 2 frontline spinners. His batting is a bonus, though. He can definitely bat up the order. So it'll be interesting to see what Sussex do with Foreman. James Coles, as I mentioned, his left arm spin is of real value to Sussex. He took 18 wickets last year at a pretty solid average in the 30s, and his ability, I think, is to really change pace. I think he's taken his bowling to another level, and I think it's been taking his bowling to another level, but I think it's been really important in his one day cricket. But I think he's now with the red ball, it's looking even more potent. Overall, I think Sussex are in a really good position heading into 2025. Last hat shift, no. They balance a young core of talent with proven performers around the lineup. The batting is less proven than others in Division 1, but I think there is the talent and potential to succeed. I guess it's always an unproven thing with a lot of these players not actually having played in Division 1 before. And I think they'll be reliant on the runs of Simpson and, perhaps bigger years from the likes of Alsop and Haynes, because I think they've, easily got the talent to do so, Alsop and Haynes, but I think it's just about, proving they can do it on this level. I think obviously Daniel Hughes as well, as I say, I think he'll be looking for a near 1,000-run season as a kind of Australian overseas, a kind of classic overseas that you can really rely on to get runs at sort of all levels of cricket. We all know that to be the case. And as I say, I think that the lower order batting, I think, is a really big thing to look out for Sussex in 2025. I think there is a really big positive, and I think it's a bit of a modern thing to have a really lower order that can really contribute, and I think it's a really important thing, in my opinion, in the modern game of red ball cricket, to be able to continuously score runs when you get to that lower order. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think the bowling unit will be plenty good enough to get Sussex over the hill and win games. I mean, they didn't struggle to last year. I believe in all of their overseas signings, and I think Carson and Robinson as your kind of as your domestic kind of leaders of the attack, seamer and spinner, is a really, really important sort of double act, if you will. It's a kind of classic thing of a lot of great teams. You sort of premier fast bowler and your premier spinner. I think they've got plenty enough talent to sort of take Sussex to winning games in Division 1, and they're both excellent match-winning bowlers, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. as I said throughout, their young bowlers have plenty of ability to take wickets. They both can bowl pretty quickly. I think Sean Hunt and Henry Crocombe is who I'm mentioning here. They both got sort of the ability to step up at that level. So it'll be interesting to see what that'll be the case for Sussex. And lastly, I just thought was worthwhile to mention was Paul Farbrace's pre-season interview. It was almost eerily similar to Conor McGregor when he said, "We're not here to take part, we're here to take over." Because Paul Farbrace went as far to say that Sussex are trying to win the title in 2025. I think that is, of course, optimistic, but he was saying failing to do that, he wants to try and finish in the top 4. And I think that's been that optimism and that change of language has been really important to Paul Farbrace's reign at Sussex. And it'll be really interesting to see how Sussex do. I think they have the talent to do it. I think they have a good enough team to do it. I think the top end of Division 1, in my opinion, is a little bit of a step up. I think Sussex could really... I think they won't be in... I hope, again, maybe I'm seeing it from a sort of Sussex fan perspective, I don't know if they'll be in a relegation scrap this year. I think they've got the talent to keep themselves in the division. I don't think they'll be pushing to the top end of it. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But I have this feeling I could see them finishing in the sort of 8 through 6 spot, maybe. So in that relegation sort of area, and that'll be where they're looking, maybe down, not up. But I think they've got the ability to really sort of lock in a spot and do really well in that mid-table, I guess, to use a footballing term. Anyway, a predicted lineup, and again, it's always a bit different with a predicted lineup because it's not really predicted. It's more just like looking through to the season and what the team will look like. But that opening duo of Haynes and Daniel Hughes, Tom Clark, Allsop and Coles in that sort of top order, followed by the wicketkeeper, batter and captain in John Simpson. Finn Hudson-Prentice will look to be around 7, if not Danny Lamb, obviously, if he plays. Jack Carson in at around 8. And Ollie Robinson 9. I've put Seals / overseas fast bowler because I think it kind of will be a case of it will just be their overseas fast bowler kind of throughout the whole summer will be the one to be batting in that lower down. And then again I put Young Quicks or maybe Dan for that 11 spot, Young Quicks or Danny Lamb at 7, and everyone moves down 1 spot because that'll be kind of how it looks. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've loved doing the preview for Sussex, and we'll be looking to do the next one very soon. Make sure to watch all the previews we've done so far. The playlist should be somewhere around here. And I hope you've enjoyed. As I say, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next few previews. So thank you for listening.